Hey, happy Monday. Thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we're talking about a little bit of everything today. We're starting with mainly two areas, but you could probably throw in a third area to watch for today for all hazards, anywhere from the west to the plains and then out to the east. Speaking of the East Coast, we do have a storm that's coming onto land today. The biggest risk here is going to be that tornado and flood risk. But we do have that hail risk in the forecast, and it's pretty impressive farther up to the plains and out to the west. We've also got another risk for storms tomorrow. So today will not be the only day for storms. But before we get to today, let's look back on yesterday. We had a little land spout off the coast of the Carolinas here that moved on land. They said 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts were reported there, and that could do a little bit of damage. We also had some hail anywhere from Wyoming all the way up to South Dakota yesterday. One storm in particular that came across the western side of Rapid City here, or excuse me, the eastern side of Rapid City here, produced some hail in this area. It looks like a lot of hail, but it's really not too big. We're thinking about pea-sized hail here. But if you are interested in that map, you can head over to hailtrace.com. Now taking a look at what we can expect today. You can see we've got a few boundaries setting up farther out to the plains, and then we've got another one out to the west here. And then of course we have those storms coming in along the coast, causing a lot of flooding issues and tornado issues in the Carolinas today. It looks like our New England states are still pretty dry. This is what we saw yesterday, or excuse me, last week as well. There's your tropical disturbance or potential cyclone 8 off the Carolinas. Got a few showers out in the Gulf right now. Nothing terribly concerning. We'll watch for this area for storms, strong to severe later on this afternoon, and then this area as well for strong to severe storms. But I don't see anything that is severe right now, so we still have a little bit until we expect that severe risk to ramp up. Current temperatures are in the 70s and 80s, so we've got the 50s out in Portland, warming up as you head farther into the central portion of the U.S., 82 in Oklahoma City, 81 in Dallas, 84 in Minneapolis, and then a little bit cooler farther off to the east where we do have a few of those showers and storms. But the rest of us are a bit above average for this time of the year. Temperatures here in Oklahoma City are in the mid-80s for this time of the year for your average high. We will be above that today, 84 already in Dallas. So not too hot yet, but if you wait another hour to have lunch, it's going to be pretty toasty out there. So maybe try to find some shade, or if you want to sit on the patio, try to find one that has fans blowing. 85 in St. Louis, 79 for your feel-like temperature, where we've got a few more clouds farther down to the south. Now let's take a look at your forecast instability here. So what this is, it's the areas to have the most likelihood of unstable air. And of course, unstable air will rise, and then what goes up must come down, and that is your areas to see strong to severe thunderstorms today. So your eyes automatically draw up to the north, right? That is the right place to go, okay? These are where we're going to see our strong to severe storms today. We've also got another risk for storms farther out to the west near the Four Corners, and then all the way up to places like Idaho today. So these are the two main areas for severe weather. And then of course we're watching farther out to the east for that potential for tornado development, and that is something we'll talk about at the very end of the forecast. Next, I want to get into that risk for hail. So once again, where are we seeing the largest hailstones? Farther up to the north here, anywhere from North Dakota, even scraping portions of Minnesota. And then farther down to the south, I'm actually a little bit more impressed with this area for some of that larger hail than what we saw earlier today. You know, the unstable air, it looked like it couldn't really get its act together, but that hail parameter does look a little bit more impressive here. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I do have that hail map that I can show you that can outline that risk and the potential to actually get some decent hailstones in this area. So actually, I'm just going to go ahead and skip right ahead to that here. There you go. Okay, so taking a look at your future radar. As I mentioned, we have 2, maybe even 3 areas to keep an eye on today. That first area where we could see strong wind mainly, but a little bit of hail through here, definitely possible. Better chances for some large hail. Farther up to the north, these storms are a little bit more conditional, so we have to get those storms to form, and then we have a good chance to see better, to see some decent hail sizes. And then of course that third area with that tornado risk and that flood risk, and we've already seen flooding in this area today out in the Carolinas, mainly North Carolina right there. But let's get to that hail forecast first, okay? So we've got Bismarck, Fargo, Grand Forks, North Dakota, and 2 portions of Minnesota. Could get up to golf ball, even up to hen egg sized hail here. I went ahead and kept the risk for this on the lower side for some of these southern storms, because that's what looks like we're going to see conditional storms. We have to have the right conditions for these storms to form. However, farther up to the north, it looks like we're going to have a higher likelihood for storms to form up here, which means, we need storms to get hail in the first place, which is why I put that risk level at a moderate, at a level 2, instead of in that low risk. I think Bismarck, Fargo, even though you could see large hail if we can get an isolated storm over here, it's just getting that isolated storm over there first. Farther down to the south, these storms are a little bit more widespread, okay? They're gonna be a little bit of everywhere across the 4 corners here, and even stretching up to the north. But I went Durango in the southwestern side of Colorado at a moderate risk for some decent sized hail. And with this, you'll see in a minute, but I dropped our hail sizes down the farther south that you go. What about that wind risk? I'm thinking anywhere between about 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds up here. Once again, better chances to get showers and storms to be severe in Grand Forks than farther down to the south. However, the wind risk, I think, will be higher than that hail risk farther down to the 4 corners, and then even as far north as Idaho here. So here we are, Salt Lake City. We've got Grand Junction and Durango. We could see up to 65 to 75-mile-per-hour wind speeds in this area as well, making that a strong to severe thunderstorm. And it's pretty widespread with these showers and storms, so I do think that we could have a pretty good chance for some strong wind in this area. Now, what about that max forecasted hail size? As I mentioned earlier, larger than a golf ball, hen egg sized hail. And this is for North Dakota and Minnesota. If you go a little bit farther down to the south near the 4 corners, I think golf ball sized hail will be your max hail size here. So just bringing it down just a tad. Alrighty, hour by hour here, anytime between about 2 o'clock this afternoon and through dinner time, you can see, as I mentioned earlier, your better chances for showers and storms are farther up to the north. If you go as far south as Fargo, you really struggle to get those showers and storms to form in this area. Could we have a little isolated storm? Definitely possible. But is it promising? I'm not going to promise it. Nope. A little bit more widespread across the 4 corners, all the way up through Utah. Much more widespread as we get into the southern portion of Idaho. So that's why I went ahead and raised that risk level. That likelihood to get showers and storms is much higher down here. We can see that low flooding threat. Wind threat, that is your main hazard with these storms today. In the 4 corners, 70-mile-per-hour wind speeds are possible. Hail threat, still on the board, but it's going to be a lower chance here. Up to golf ball sized hail, still pretty decent hail size there. Alrighty, let's move on to that tornado forecast. We do have the potential for those rotating supercells up to the north, North Dakota, and into Minnesota. I have a low risk for that today. Grand Forks, Fargo, and Bismarck all included in that risk. Even though it's a low risk, it is still on the board. So make sure that you and anyone that you know that lives in this area is aware of that risk. The second risk for tornado threat today is a little bit higher, farther down to the south along the Carolinas here. So here's North Carolina. Right along the coastline here is where we see that moderate risk, that level 2 on a scale of 4 risk here, right along Wilmington. This is already where we've seen flooding today. We're going to add that tornado risk on top of it, especially if we can get any discrete cells or isolated cells from that, that main band. And I think I have, yeah, there you go. Okay, so if we can, actually there may have been a tornado warning here. just maybe a few minutes ago. You see that pop up, right? It may not pop up again. Either way, what we're really watching for here are any of these storms that could be away from the main band here. So if we can see one that's not attached to this main band, I think that's whenever we could get the potential for a tornado. If not, they're going to be very, very hard to spot. Most of these will have a good potential to be rain-wrapped tornadoes, and they may form very, very quickly. So make sure that you're not just kind of hanging out in these rain bands here. It could get dangerous very quickly. Here's the track of this potential cyclone 8. It, of course, making landfall today, continuing to track up to the north, bringing tons of rain to our otherwise pretty dry New England states, bringing that rain anywhere from the Midwest to the New England states as we head into the middle of the work week. So showers and storms will continue in this area for the next few days, most likely producing a pretty soggy week ahead of us here. You can see just how far these rain bands will stretch over the next few days. Then your 5-day rain chances farther out to the west looking pretty promising, anywhere from the plains to the west to get some form of precipitation. The only areas that I'm seeing some dry spots are in the central portion of Oklahoma, Texas, and even through portions of the Midwest, like Chicago looks pretty dry over the next 5 days. All right, potential tropical cyclone 8 is not the only storm that we are watching for here. We have another one. It's actually a named storm, Gordon, out in the Atlantic. Again, this is a fish storm. We were watching this last week saying, where will this go? If this can keep tracking to the west, it could impact populations. But Gordon said, nope, right up to the north. And there we go. We see Gordon just kind of taking this turn up to the north, away from any population. So it is officially a fish storm. And as it gets farther to the north, what we're watching for here is we're watching for the potential for some low shear. So let's see, we've got high shear right here, highlighted in blue, low shear highlighted in that red pink color here. If we can get to some of those red pink colors, we could see intensification of Gordon. But the farther north that it gets, the cooler those waters are, the more shear you're going to get into, so that it's going to kind of cap off how strong this storm could get. It's really going to stunt its development. So we'll watch Gordon over the next few days, but still for now and through at least the middle of this week, it is a fish storm. It is not impacting any populated areas. Now taking a look at your future temperatures, are we going to get back in that fall-like weather anytime soon through the plains? We got out our crock pot this weekend, and then I was like, well, it's 80 degrees. I'm not making soup whenever it's summer weather. So yeah, we want those cooler temperatures. Are we going to see that? Not for a while, at least the next 3 or 4 days. Temperatures, look at that, 94 on Wednesday. We've got the 80s and 90s through the middle to late portion of the work week. It just gets worse. 98 on Thursday. Could we go for cooler weather on Friday? I think that's where my temperature stops. We can go back here. Let's take a look at other people. Across the west, we've got some cooler temperatures, 50s and 60s. That looks very, very pleasant and fall-like. And then taking a look at the east, all of that rain that we're getting this week from this tropical storm, or excuse me, potential tropical cyclone that's making landfall today, it's going to bring a lot of cloud cover and cooler temperatures all the way up the east coast here. So who's in the warm weather? Mainly Oklahoma and Texas, but that stretches all the way off into places like Chicago. So we get it. We're in that summer-like weather with you as well. We're waiting for fall to return. It will. Just for like, what do we get here in Oklahoma? Like a week? 2 weeks of fall? We'll have to enjoy it while it lasts. All right, thanks for joining us today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We have a lot of fun social posts coming up on there. Not only last week, but also this week and next week, we've got a lot of things scheduled. Give us a call if you're interested in a hail, wind, tornado maps. We are always mapping storms here at Hail Trace. We've got a bunch of weather enthusiasts here that are always watching those storms for you. Email us at info@hailtrace.com, or you can head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more info. All right, thanks for joining us on this Monday. We have another round of storms across the plains tomorrow, so we'll be back here with the forecast tomorrow at noon. We'll see you back here, same time, same place.